Hello everyone and welcome to Real Time with IPC Apex Expo 2018 here at San Diego, California. I'm Stephen Lasmarias and joining me today is Henk Biemans, Managing Director of MEK Marantz Electronics Limited. Hank, thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. So first, Hank, tell us more about MEK.
Mek of Mek Marantz Electronics. We are building AOI machines since 1994. We are basically a spin-off of the old Philips and Marantz audio equipment.
Okay.
So we started to be active in desktop AOI in the early days, but nowadays we have solutions for all AOI things, including THT and SMD inlines, 3D solutions, the whole lot. Yeah. So and we are basically, it's a Japanese company, and I am from the headquarters in Europe, and we direct the US office also from Europe.
Okay.
So and I'm running that from the Netherlands actually. Yeah.
Okay. So, Hank, from your perspective, what are the major challenges right now in inspection?
I think the major challenges of AOI is basically protocolizing. So having better track and trace for all the products going out, including the products that were actually till now not so much inspected, like products that are used that's still using THT components.
Okay.
We see a vast increase of inspection in the THT AOI arena. Because with the electrification of cars, electrification of leaving basically the combustion-based energy sources, we see the electrification drives more power electronics, and power electronics you typically cannot do with SMD. You need THT components, and there is a need to inspect those, especially the solder joints, because you can imagine with high power, high currents, high voltages, if something goes wrong there, you have immediately high risks for damage or worse, and that you need to inspect. And typically, if you look at electronics assembly, if you go to the SMD world, everything is nice and organized, clean rooms, the whole lot. And you go to a THT world, and then everything is manual insertion. You see old soldering stations, and everybody and operators are just looking at the board. Okay, that's fine.
Right.
Actually, with very expensive and high power components, and that is less and less allowed now. So we see the trend in automotive industry that they are also putting requirements for inspection of that. And that is and then AOI inspects not only from the top to see if the components are there, but also from the bottom to see if the solder joints are okay. And we see a trend in that being increased, and we are quite a strong player in that area, and with all kinds of solutions.
Right.
So we see a trend there in THT, and another trend is that we have especially helped with 3D technology, that we try to make AOIs to be less dependent on the actual programmer. If you make a program on an AOI or I make a program on the AOI, probably the result is different because you choose another inspection strategy than I do. And by using more and more software, artificial intelligence, etc., we can reduce that human factor out of the programming of the machine, and that's where we all want to go, because we don't want those differences anymore. So.
All right. Yeah. Interesting. You mentioned AI. Definitely, the manufacturers are putting more artificial intelligence into the thinking of their equipment, so that to help their customers better. Okay. So you have the THT, and what about your SMD AOI side?
Yeah, in SMD AOI we are reintroducing here at Apex the M1. That's basically an AOI machine, obviously 3D, which can analyze not only the bodies in 3D, but actually also the solder joints without programming them.
Yeah.
So actually the machine takes over this job from the programmer, and it analyzes the solder joint with a lot of parameters, much more than you and I can actually grasp.
Yeah.
And it will combine all those, and using statistics it will basically program the solder joint by itself. So the results will be the same if you make a program and I make a program. Yeah, so you input your Gerber data, and based on that, it knows where to find the solder. So that's basically what we do with artificial intelligence to actually take away this uncertainty from programming your AOI and having the same results across all the products.
Yeah. What trends are driving the developments in AOI?
Well, I think this aspect, what I just mentioned, is driving it. We want to be less dependent on humans, more inspection, not only SMD but also THT and final assembly inspection. We see a trend there. So actually, more and more to leave the human factors out of the total quality chain.
Right.
And automotive industry is the main driver, because there is the combination of volume as well as high quality standards. So they're driving this whole trends actually.
What can you say about the Industry 4.0 trend in the industry right now?
Yeah, the Industry 4 is basically having all these processes combined and controlled, and of course AOI as the measurement system in the line hooks directly into that. So all this protocolization, the track and tracing, that's all clustered into this Industry 4 aspect. So and AOI hooks nicely into that.
All right. So what can you say about I believe a lot of manufacturers are still using 2D. So how would they justify the move to 3D?
Actually, AOI typically is optical inspection. 3D is additional way of projecting light, and that gives the opportunity to measure some height.
Right.
Yeah. By having some height measurement capabilities, you can say that there is like a 3D thing. This is not totally true, because they're mostly still using just one camera. So you have a height measurement tool rather than 3D, because you cannot see the components from the side. So the term 3D is quite a bit hyped, and it's obviously quite different between different suppliers. Everybody defines 3D as with different background and different measurements. So 3D is a little bit a vague term, but obviously having the possibility of doing height measurement on some objects gives an additional tool to inspect something. But it's not the holy grail, and still a lot of 2D is needed to do inspections like markings, etc. And also for presence absence control if you're shadowing. If you have high gloss solder joints, you often still have to rely on your 2D reflections, etc. So it is 3D is a little bit there's a lot of 3D inflation now in the term. So
a test strategy that you would recommend is using a 2D partially and then 3D partially?
Well, I think the modern AOIs having 3D technology on board as well as 2D, so the algorithms actually ultimately decide what is the best, what gives the best decision criteria for inspecting a certain object.
Right.
So it's not like it's always related to height measurement. No, there are different factors that you need.
All right. So, Henk, what can you say? What's your outlook for this year? Last year has been very good for the industry, I believe.
Yeah. Also for us, last year was good. This year, the outlook is fantastic. So I see the demand in THT increasing, which is good for us. And also in the SMD world, it's less spectacular actually. It is it's quite stable. There are also many players. So but there's a trend of more and more inspection. So and more software. So I think the whole automation part of AOI is going to be increased, which is good.
Yeah, more and more inspection, because I think before inspection is just it's just a thing that an assembler would just consider adding or not into their line. But nowadays it's a requirement from the customers.
Yeah, it's a must.
That all the products are highly reliable, quality.
Yeah. Everybody wants to avoid recalls and things like that. So you have to secure yourself.
Exactly. Henk, do you have any final comments?
No, I think we have covered most of the things here now already. So yeah, I'm okay.
Great. Thank you very much again for joining us today.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
That's Henk Biemans, Managing Director of Mek Marantz Electronics. I'm Stephen Las Marias. Thank you very much for joining us.